Hey guys, Comic Boom here to talk about comic books this week. It's April 14, 2018. I just wanted to wish it's 80 years that Superman has been out. Wow, it was April. Pardon me, June of 1938 was the cover date on Action Comics #1. Action Comics 1000 is going to be coming out next week. I got these beautiful metal signs with representing the old Superman from the late 1930s. These are great. It's good to have in a collection. They're in the background. They're usually hung up elsewhere in my place, in my little man cave here, but I thought I'd just show them off. So I got those things. So I'd like to happy 80th to Action Comics to DC, hoping that Bendis hits it out of the park with his rendition. I got my Clark Kent glasses on, but in fact, I actually need to wear them. In any event, I picked this up. I just thought, for those of you that didn't shell out the $30, $30 American to pick it up, let me just tell you that it's a mistake. When Marvel produces something like this and it's this thick, it usually runs about $75 Canadian. So this is a heck of a deal. This is a beautiful, beautiful hardcover. Those of you that didn't pick this up, I just want to show it to you. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I just want to take the cover. I want to take the sleeve off to show you what it actually looks like on the inside when you take the sleeve. Okay, sorry about that. We were cut off. But some of the most iconic Action Comics covers are on the front here. And it's just really, really good. Chances are, whatever your favorite Action Comics is, it's probably a good chance it's in here. This thing is thick. I mean, this thing is absolutely gorgeous on the inside. Beautiful, beautiful covers. Again, are reproduced. Huge table of contents. So a lot of articles here by Paul Levitz, Laura Siegel Larson, who's the daughter of Joe Siegel, one of the co-creators of Superman. Jules Pfeiffer does an article in here. They reproduce the entirety of Action Comics #1. The mystery of the freight train robberies in Action Comics #1 as well. A whole slew of very good, interesting stories. The one that I was looking forward to the most was the one by Marv Wolfman called How I Saved Superman. Marv Wolfman tells the story that when he was young, he actually went into the DC offices and they were throwing away Golden Age stories. In one of the comic books, they were throwing away eight pages, comic book pages of drawn Joe Siegel art, and it's a Superman story. And he actually managed to trade with his buddies to acquire all 8 pages, and it's never been published before. And it's quite good. It's can you imagine? I mean, they used to throw those covers away just for like he said in Marv Wolfman, he does the article, he explains the story in terms of how he saved Superman and how he saved that one 8-page story, which they've reproduced here. And they reproduce it. It's not colored or anything, but it is a I'll just try to give you a snapshot here of what it looks like. And this is reproduced right from the pages that Marv Wolfman collected when he went into the offices as a kid. And what a find, what a find. I wonder how much you could get for auction on that. How much would you pay for that? I don't know. It's I'm thinking it would be at least in the tens of thousands, maybe $100,000 for that. I'm telling you. But this is a heck of a deal. So many great Superman stories. My personal favorite in here would be the story written by Joe Kelly. I believe actually Joe Kelly is one of the more underrated writers who's ever written for DC, particularly his writing on Superman. He also wrote a great story that's not reproduced in here called Whatever Happened to Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which is, I think, they made that into an animated cartoon. The comic book is even better than the cartoon. But wow, just great Superman stuff. Can't wait to see Action Comics 1000 and see what Brent Bendis brings to the table. We'll have to wait and see. I also wanted to show, I managed to pick up, from the Royal Canadian Mint, I do have some coins which I wanted to show with Superman on them. This one here has Cyborg on it. Some of these are gifted to me. Some of these are purchased online. But these are $20 Royal Canadian Mint coins, which are really great when you can get them for $40, and then they generally tend to sell out and they go up in value. So it's really great. I also had one early on. This is of the New 52 Superman when the New 52 Superman came out. And he doesn't have his shorts. The Royal Canadian Mint came up with some coins as well. So really nice coins. I also have another coin here when the Batman v Superman movie came out. There's a $30 coin here that's quite thick. It has Wonder Woman on it, Batman, Superman, $30 coin. This one is particularly gorgeous. These things come in really fancy boxes. They open up like that, and then for display purposes. So they look really nice. So if you ever get anything at the Canadian Mint, the Royal Canadian Mint is just gorgeous. It's world renowned for just doing fantastic jobs on its coins. And I got a lot of Silver Age comic book characters that are reproduced at various times by the Royal Canadian Mint on their coins. I got some with Batgirl and Supergirl. They're really gorgeous, and they're economical. They're like you pay for $30-40 and you get a nice coin, and it's beautiful. It's great for display, and it's well worth it, and it grows in value. It really does. So especially when you consider now you're paying when you're paying $30 for your average maybe hardcover trade or something. Budget a little bit. You can order it online. It gets shipped to your door. It's relatively economical if you get in early. Go to the Royal Canadian Mint, and then once you're on the Royal Canadian Mint, get on their mail page website, and you'll be surprised what you can get. It's amazing because every now and then they do stuff that deals with social media, whether it's your favorite movie, whether it's Star Trek, Aliens, or whatever the case might be. There's probably a coin that the Royal Canadian Mint has done on it, and it's great stuff. Now I wanted to keep I wanted to touch a little bit on Superman, which I already did. I also wanted to, there's too damn many comic books this week to talk about. I don't have time to talk about all of them online, so I don't have time to do a review on all of them. But what I do have time to do, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the comics that came out this week that I was surprisingly impressed with. First one is Domino by Marvel. I'm a fan of Gail Simone. I think Gail Simone does overall. I think she does a fairly good job when she's a writer. I know sometimes she doesn't seem to have fans on Twitter. I don't mind her on Twitter, but I know some of my buddies have, for whatever reason, take issues with her, and she's never really rubbed me the wrong way too much. And I love her writing. I love her on Secret Six. I loved her Birds of Prey, and she made Deadpool. She wrote Deadpool early on, and she kind of put Deadpool in many ways on the map because I believe she was one of the first ones to make Deadpool actually funny, or at least one of the early writers to really help Deadpool bloom as a character. And now she's trying to work her magic on Domino. And this opening issue is great. It's entertaining. It's funny. She ends up with a dog named Pip, and the Pip is appropriately enough, a Pip is one of those dots on a Domino chip. So, and she ends up on going to a birthday party. Dazzler singing at her birthday party. It's actually well written, great dialogue. Gail Simone, I won't say at her finest, but it's really good. She's having fun with this comic, and I'm definitely in for the long haul. This is really good. So I recommend you get Domino. It's well worth the read, and yeah, check it out. Now, the other comic that Marvel had out this month that I was impressed with, I was pleasantly surprised, was Champions. Impressed with Champions really up until this issue. This issue, Jim Zub writes this issue of Champions. He does a really good job here. Once again, Jim Zub does his homework. He knows his history, and I'll be blunt here. I don't know all the history of these characters. So you might say, well, how do I know that Jim Zub's done his history? You can tell by reading it. You can just tell. He's explaining everything. This is very much new reader friendly. And even though I have read the previous issues of Champions, I still never really felt like I got to know the Champions. When Mark Waid wrote the Champions, wasn't his A game. There was too much of a crossover with Secret Empire early on that didn't help it at all. It was a little bit too disjointed. It didn't feel cohesive. It felt all over the place. There was a crossover with Avengers called Worlds Collide that I didn't particularly think worked all that well. In any event, this is refreshing. It starts pretty much from scratch. Takes place basically the team's getting together. They're getting their own jet. You really see the personalities of Riri Williams, who's a little bit, her usual sort of narcissistic control freak self. Riri's not used to being a team player. And then you've got that rubs Amadeus Cho the wrong way. Then Spider-Man Nova nails those characters. Miss Marvel, I read Miss Marvel, nails Kamala Khan. Very impressed, very impressed. And there's a surprise potential death at the end of this issue. I won't ruin it, but check it out. Very well written by Jim Zub. Again, I think I'm back on Champions now to take us for the long haul. Now, I also want to talk about other comics that stood out this week for me were Red Hood and the Outlaws. This one I recommend. This is one that's flown under the radar for such a long time. I mean, we have Bizarro, the Red Hood, and Artemis, and what an eclectic team. But man, this is a really great dynamic, great storytelling. Scott Lobdell is not someone who traditionally I've really been a huge fan of in terms of his writing, but I got to tell you, hi, Sugar Cat. You're editing a Taco Bell food review as you're watching. Oh, wow. Good luck with that. Well, Red Hood and the Outlaws here. It's a very enjoyable read. Right now, what's interesting about Bizarro is that he's gained intelligence. He's really, really smart, and he doesn't want to go back to being dumb. And I think I get the impression he's fallen in love with Artemis. And meanwhile, there's some fear that Bizarro might turn evil again. And so Bizarro's afraid of that. Bizarro's sort of lost in his mind. He's losing his intelligence. He doesn't want to go back to speak like Bizarro speak. And Bizarro speak can be very frustrating. If you want to know how frustrating Bizarro speak is, you can read there was just last month, they just finished a Bizarro storyline in the pages of Superman. And that was, while it was an interesting storyline, it was very frustrating. It's a frustrating read because Bizarro speak, when everything's spoken in the negative, it can get extremely frustrating. And I'm glad that they went this route on Bizarro. A very adult take, very, very, very great read. In fact, if they really wanted to do something different, I think DC should have a show called Red Hood and the Outlaws. I think that would be cool. Not the Teen Titans that they got going out there. I know my buddy Nerd Scum. I check out Nerd Scum's videos, and Nerd Scum did a video on where he talked about the Teen Titans TV show, and there were snapshots of the TV show, and he indicated Nerd Scum has some experience as an actor, and he knows that he made a good point when he said, well, don't be too alarmed by seeing pictures on the set of the Teen Titans of these actors, because that might be before makeup, and might be before, might not actually be how it's going to look at the end product. But nonetheless, it does cause me some concern, and I really think they should have went with something a little bit more provocative. Like, imagine having Artemis, a crazy Amazon. That would have, with Red Hood, with Batman fame, it would have been better. Yeah, I agree, Sugar Cat. There's definitely an unlogic to it. Maybe you understand it better than me. I don't know. Now this one here, lots of people are talking about Thanos. This was just a great read. What Donny Cates gets about Thanos, and by the way, I'm not an expert on Thanos, but I already feel that I know him thanks to Donny Cates. And if you want to hear me rant about how not to write a villain of Thanos level power, hear my rant. Go to my Wonder Woman 44 issue 44 review, which I just put up yesterday. I rant against. I was disappointed with how James Robinson has been writing Darkseid. it's embarrassing. This is the way that you write a super galactic villain. This is amazing. And Thanos is he's a surprising. On the one hand, he's a one-dimensional character, and on the other hand, there's a little bit of complexity to him. The whole idea that he wants to kill everyone in the universe so he can impress death because he's in love with death seems ridiculously dysfunctional to me. But somehow Donny Cates makes that work. And I know Thanos has had a fascination with death, and he's been in love with death for quite a while. It's a running theme whenever Thanos is involved in his various arcs, going back to an Infinity Gauntlet. But it does seem something. It seems to be a theme and a running theme that keeps on giving. And kudos to Donny Cates to find yet another sort of original way to approach that common theme. So it's very impressive, and I highly recommend it. And yeah, I can't wait to next issue. I can't wait for the inevitable hardcover coming out for that we'll collect. I believe the next issue, the ninth is, or the next. This is the final issue, but there's an annual coming out, I believe, either next week or next month, and so it'll probably wrap everything up. Although this is a fairly good. I don't know if you guys can see me or not. Yeah, I see that. Well, I'm going to keep on going. I'm not streaming, but I'll keep on talking anyway. And that is, I'll talk about Captain America number 700. I don't know why this is, but Captain America 700, I am a little disappointed with how it ended. Oh, thanks, Sugar Cat. I'm a little disappointed by how Captain America 700 ended. But I will say that it was somewhat predictable. Mark Waid, let's face it, he was given a terrible deck, I think, when he was given Captain America coming out of Secret Empire. I enjoyed Secret Empire, like some of you know, but I admit that I'm definitely in the minority on that, because Captain America did not come out come out looking pretty good out of Secret Empire. Now, what I'm a little disappointed with how this ended was that basically Steve Rogers in the future, Captain America gets frozen in ice by I think the Rampart terrorist group, and he ends up in the future, and then he ends up coming back here. He ends up coming back, choosing to use a time machine to come back, and basically because he gave up on the future. And what I really noticed here was there was a New York bias. Here's Captain America, Steve Rogers. He's fighting for the rebels, so to speak, in the future, trying to overcome the terrorists that have taken over the world. And New York City gets destroyed in a nuclear holocaust. And that depresses him so much that he then changes his mind and decides that he's going to come back in time to try to prevent it from happening. He didn't want to come back in time when David Banner offered him the first time, because he said, no, I don't like messing with time. But, so I just want to make the most of the present. I want to focus on the present, move forward, freedom, fight for freedom, et cetera, et cetera. But when New York City was destroyed, then he gets all depressed and he decides he's going to come back and try to start Rampart. And that's exactly what he does. He comes back. He does sacrifice his life. I like that about it. He sacrifices his life. And upon sacrificing his life, in a little bit of a time travel mental quagmire, he comes back to our time, sacrifices his life, but he ends up making it so that his present self gets broken out of the ice. So it's a little bit weird. Captain America indirectly ended up rescuing himself and preventing himself from getting frozen in ice, which started the whole thing to begin with, which creates sort of one of those crazy mental time loops that you got to make sense of, or maybe it doesn't make sense. I don't know, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I kind of look at this comic. It's sort of like Captain America gave his life like he should have done in Secret Empire. I don't like how Secret Empire ended. I like the journey of Secret Empire for the most part, but I don't like how it ended because the fact of the matter is that Hydra Cap is the real Captain America. It can never be forgotten that Kobik literally created the existing good Captain America out of thin air. He's not actually the real one. The real one is Hydra Cap, because that's the history that was messed with. So that's the painful reality about Secret Empire that Marvel Comics is likely never going to acknowledge, and that's what makes it so gut-wrenchingly bad in terms of how Secret Empire ended. Marvel lied about it, and I want to say this about Marvel in terms of how they lied about it, because it's completely in contradiction to comments made by Joe Quesada on Twitter. Because Joe Twitter, he gave all these wonderful little quotes. And he gave a quote about Henry Ford when Henry Ford said, if I would give people what they wanted, I would have invented faster horses. I wouldn't have invented the automobile. Or you don't give people what you want, you give them what they need. And Joe Quesada's argument is, no, you got to give the fans what they want. You got to give the fans what they really, really want. Well, the only thing I'd say to Joe Quesada is that, well, at Secret Empire, people really, really wanted Secret Empire to end, not with Kobik just undoing everything again. And that's exactly how it ended. And that's what was so disappointing. So Joe Quesada, who's trying to sound inspirational on Twitter, and he did. He had some good tweets. I just wish that Marvel in 2017 had actually followed and done that. And now, hopefully in 2000, here we are. I think Marvel's getting better with Domino and Champions so far. And now moving on to better things with Captain America. I think maybe that's happening. So maybe Joe Quesada is that inspirational person that maybe he's a voice that is going to be making a difference. Avengers No Surrender. Grandmaster was killed, and now the Grandmaster Prime comes to the head. Mark Waid, Al Ewing, and Jim Zub, they've done a good job on this series. I have this thing digitally. Obviously, I collect the comics, but I use the digital code. This thing is beautiful to read on an iPad. Usually what I want is predictable. I want to be surprised sometimes. Yeah, I agree, Sugar Cat. I like to be surprised too. And I suppose that's going back to my earlier comments, Joe Quesada. Okay, sorry guys, I went off their line for a bit. But in any event, Joe Quesada did say that even Marvel themselves as editors, they don't always know what to resonate with fans, and sometimes they're surprised, and they hope for the best too. But yeah, sorry about the stream, guys. The internet seems to be going up and down here a little bit. In my loft. Another comic that I really like is Red Sonja. I particularly like the legendary. Particularly, I like seeing people in cosplay when they do this kind of thing. It's always great to see them dress up in sort of a steampunk style. And the comic book is always great too. This one is written by Mark Andreyko, art by Rodney Buscemi. This is a really great series. I'd recommend people pick that up. It's a lot of fun. I'm also enjoying American Gods. I would recommend this. Sorry, Sugar Cat, you wanted to see some pages from that. I'm assuming you mean Legendary. The art is, I think the art's pretty good. Maybe not the greatest, but it's still pretty good. Mark Andreyko, he wrote Manhunter for a while. He wrote Batwoman for a while. He's pretty good. He's he's a good writer, and the artist here is Rodney Buscemi. Colors by Adriana Augusto. So yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Now, Ninjak as well. This is a surprise hit for me. I can't believe how good this comic actually is. This Ninjak is a comic that, I mean, Valiant is, I absolutely love Valiant. This is such a fantastic comic book company. These stories are self-contained. The choreograph and the fighting in this is amazing. This is really good stuff. This is you know, Christos Cage. I wish he'd write a couple of Batman. He's done a pretty good job on this series. I'm going to show. I don't know. You guys have probably seen in your comic shop. You've probably seen the. It starts off with issue 1, and then it goes. He goes from soldier to general to eventually leaving the planet and getting his exo-mana suit back. And this series is, I mean, the quality of this comic. I mean, this is cardboard covers, absolutely gorgeous. These are the pre-order editions, and $3.99 each. You're getting, if Marvel was publishing this, you'd be paying $5.99 an issue. That's the quality of the covers, the gorgeous art. I'm going to show you some of the art inside here because it's incredible. And also, they also have literally the editorial pages. They show you how they edit the book. They actually show you the script. Every issue you get half the script, and they explain what they're thinking, and the editors give their comments, and then it goes back to the story, and it's just really, really good stuff. I would highly, you know, if you budget to buy one Valiant comic book just to check it out, this is really good stuff. This is basically a rags to riches, but a soldier to a general story. Just absolutely, truly gorgeous. This is the latest one. And everything's explained too at the beginning. They do explain who all the characters are, in case you don't know. It's like I said, it's well worth it. Definitely get it. I would not, although I can't recommend Shadow Man. I found it to be inaccessible. I didn't find it to be very accessible. It was surprisingly disappointing. Andy Diggle usually does a better job than this, but Shadow Man was a surprising disappointment. I took that off my pull list, so I wouldn't get Shadow Man. One I would go is Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. This one, this is I think this is only a 6-issue series, but he takes on the entire Valiant Universe. This is actually entertaining as hell. It's kind of a common theme that, you know, it's sort of like Marvel does that with Deadpool takes on the Marvel Universe, Punisher kills them, you know. This is Ninjak. It's well written, and it's played for real. It's not played for a joke, and it's very well done. And Ninjak is a kick-ass character, and then he interacts with Bloodshot and all the characters that are normally in a series called, I don't know if you guys may have heard of Harbinger Wars. Harbinger Wars 2 is coming out. Those characters are all involved. Really good stuff. All right. There is, next issue I want to give a shout out to is Titans. Now I want to mention Titans because Donna Troy is finally stepping up to the plate. Now, well, Donna Troy has had a nightmare origin, a nightmare series of origins going back 40 years or longer. It's crazy. And her New 52, Donna Troy in the New 52 before Rebirth she was introduced in the pages of Wonder Woman as a psychotic Amazon that was created essentially from clay, and she exterminated all the male Amazons on Paradise Island. She was psychotic. She was an actual feminazi in every sense of the word. And she was horrible. It was in a horrible storyline written by Meredith Finch in the pages of New 52 Wonder Woman. Unfortunately, it was after Brian Azzarello's fantastic run. Meredith Finch came along, and she introduced us to a psychotic Donna Troy. And to make it even more nonsensical, following Donna Troy's extermination of all the male Amazons, where she killed off all the men, and this was pre-Comic Skate. Nobody seemed to care. It bothered me, but I was the lone voice in the wilderness, wondering why no one cared that all the male Amazons were exterminated. Wonder Woman actually had no problem. Wonder Woman wanted to forgive her. Wonder Woman basically was prepared to forgive her. Not only that, Donna Troy then escapes imprisonment, and it doesn't seem to bother Wonder Woman at all. Doesn't seem to bother Wonder Woman at all. Now, bear in mind, in the new 52, Wonder Woman was the goddess of war, and Wonder Woman was also queen of Themyscira. Now, in the new 52, what made the new 52 Wonder Woman a little bit so controversial, and the reason why when Greg Rucka came and did Rebirth Wonder Woman, he made Wonder Woman perfect again. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Rebirth. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman run. It's not that he's not a great writer. I love a lot of what Greg Rucka writes. I love his Lazarus. I love his Black Magic. I love a lot of his stuff. He did a series called Whiteout. I really enjoyed that back in the day. In any event, what the new 52 version of Wonder Woman, she was a god of war, and she was also the queen of Themyscira, and she welcomed male Amazons onto the island. And male Amazons, it was revealed that Amazons were badass. They used to rape 3 times every 100 years. Amazons would rape sailors. They would patrol the seas outside Paradise Island, which was hidden, and they would rape sailors for their sperm and give birth to more women to keep their island populated, if you can believe this. This is under Brian Azzarello. He portrayed a much darker Amazonian take, which I thought was infinitely more interesting, because when you get warrior women, that's what warrior women would do. This notion that women are peaceful, loving people all the time. It's like, really? If you actually believe that, you need to get out more. Just saying. I love women, but they're not that much different than men, really. Anyways, in any event, they're raping men for their sperm. They populate Paradise Island with a bunch of women, but they killed off all their male offspring because they didn't want. Whenever they gave birth to boys, they'd kill the boys, or at least so you thought. Well, Hephaestus, who was a sort of he built the weapons for all the gods. He basically said, look, I don't want you to kill these male Amazons. Give them to me, and they can work in my pits and help me build weapons for the gods. And that's exactly what they did. And when Wonder Woman discovered this, she was so appalled by what her Amazonian sisters had done and what her mother had done in the past that she welcomed the male Amazons back to the island, only to have them a couple months later be exterminated by Donna Troy, who absolutely hated them simply because they were men. And then DC, I think, realized that they really, really screwed up, because how do you put lipstick? That sounds like what the original myth of Amazons were like. I guess I'm not completely familiar with the original myth of the Amazons, but I know that they didn't have a breast, and they were more kick-ass. They weren't exactly peaceful. So, but in any event, I know that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Donna Troy kills all the men, and Wonder Woman basically is prepared to be very, very forgiving to Donna Troy. And DC, of course, realized, well, how do we make Donna Troy lovable again? Well, then what? Because remember, then Convergence comes along, and then they had Titans Hunt, and then suddenly they completely ignore. They introduce Donna Troy in Titans Hunt because they want to make Donna Troy likable again, because they want to make her part of the Titans. Well, you can't exactly. How do you undo a feminazi? I mean, she literally exterminated an entire race. It was ultimately revealed there was actually one lone survivor. His name was Alexandria, and he was missing an arm. There was one lone survivor of the extermination of the male Amazons, and in any event, what happened was, they needed to undo Donna Troy's New 52 origin. So when Rebirth came along, uh, they really butchered this. In one of the issues of Titans, it's revealed that Wonder Woman just said that, well, Donna's origin was completely changed off panel. We never saw it. Wonder Woman just explained to Donna Troy that, well, you don't remember anything, but you were actually a clone of me, and you were cloned to kill me, and I stopped you. So they really butchered. So they really tried to undo that terrible storyline in trying to forget what happened in the New 52. But in any event, what happens here is Donna Troy actually ends up kicks Cheshire's ass because she was beating the hell out of Arsenal, and she was about to use lethal force, and Cheshire basically dares her to, but of course Donna Troy doesn't want to embrace her lethal side, which if she can definitely be potentially lethal. But in any event, this is actually finally getting better. I think that DC has sort of dropped. No one's talking about Titans as much as they should. It's been very underwhelming. So I've seen Titans with DC with Rebirth, but I think it's picking up. I'm enjoying it more. Yeah, Nightwolf. Yeah, Titans is getting. It's getting better. I felt it was a little mediocre for a while, but it's getting better there. A couple other things. Another series I'm going to Image now is a series called Beauty. I just want to make a few comments about this. The concept of this comic book is something that I'm surprised that this comic. Yeah, everyone does have a slump, Nightwolf. That's right. Hopefully, if you're talking about Titans, yeah, hopefully they'll get out of it. But the concept of beauty, it's such a great concept. Basically, it's a drug that turns you beautiful. Imagine, and it's a venereal disease. It spreads by, it's like AIDS, but instead of really killing you, what it does is that it makes you beautiful. So if let's say you're a little overweight and unattractive, and maybe you have a bigger nose or a poor bone structure or whatever, if you end up with this disease called beauty, and you end up with the venereal disease, you'll wake up one morning and you'll look in the mirror and you'll be muscular. You'll actually look beautiful. You'll be skinny, and it's astonishing what it does. And so in this particular series, what's great about it is that it tells different stories about people's experience with beauty, and how fixated we are as a society on how we look and how that affects us, our narcissism, and how we react, what we do. And the first 6 issues, essentially, or was it the first? I think it was the first 8 or 9 issues. It focused on the police investigating what was ultimately a conspiracy dealing with the beauty, and how, in fact, it is slowly killing people. Because initially it was thought to be something. It was a wonderful drug. Everybody wanted it, and then of course it started to spread as like a disease, and more and more people. More and more people ended up dying. Now, the great thing about this series is it's become there's individual stories. It sort of reminds me a little bit like 100 Bullets, as well as 100 Bullets, except it's got individual stories where it talks about people's individual experiences with beauty and getting the virus beauty, but there's also a longer narrative at play. It's accessible. It's easy to catch on to. I suggest you pick it up, guys. It's really good. I'm gonna give a shout out to the writers here. My pet peeve. Oh, there we go. Jeremy Hahn's the writer. Jason Hurley story, and then Thomas Nachlik is the current artist. In any event, check out Beauty. Now this one here, for those of you that like video games, this is a series called Versus. Now this is written by Ivan Brandon, and the artist is Isad Ribic. Isad Ribic, am I saying that right? Ribic. I think Isad Ribic, I believe his claim to fame. Didn't he draw? He drew a Marvel event at one point, I believe. He drew a Marvel event. I'm not sure which one it was, but in any event, this is a beautifully rendered comic book. Um, Absolutely beautiful. It's by Image, and basically, it's like it deals with soldiers and warriors that are sort of in the future. They're not caught in a video game, but they battle and they kill each other and they get points, and the world watches them battle each other. And it's kind of a dystopian future, but it's got cool politics, it's got great action scenes, great character development, fantastic art. I mean, just truly beautiful art. Definitely worth picking up. I mean, this is great stuff. This is one of those rare comic books versus what that I actually buy just for the art because I love the art. The Isad Rivik is such a great artist, and the story's pretty good too. We're at issue 3. This is really picking up. It is a bit like Tron Nightwolf. It is a bit like Tron versus, except it's cooler. It's actually better written than Tron. It's got more politics. It's got more characters, and it's really good. It's really good. And again, that's versus. And yeah, Bloodshot Salvation. Man, I was talking earlier about Valiant guys. This is really picking up. Bloodshot, he's trying to save his daughter, and of course, I mean the violence and look at the art. I mean, look at that cover. Good God, the quality, the time that Valiant puts to each of their issues, and the time on the art I mean, look at this. This is really great quality art. And the way everything is so explained, I can literally sit back. There are some comic books, I call them my Corona comics, where I can sit back and normally I can take, most comics I can read in 5 minutes. What I love about Valiant comics is I can sit back and read them for 15 to 20 minutes and literally enjoy. It's like sipping my Corona. It's a nice, fine sip, and just sit back and enjoy. Bloodshot, great comic. I wanted to give a shout out to the current issue of Suicide Squad. Now, Suicide Squad, this is the variant cover. Once again, I foolishly got the variant cover. I usually go through because I don't like getting the variant covers. I like the standard covers. Unfortunately, I ended up with a variant cover on this, so I'll have to return it to my retailer and get the standard cover. It's my pet peeve. I don't want variant covers. The only time I get a variant cover, and I said this before, the odd time, yeah, something like this, yeah, maybe I'll pick up. That's a nice variant cover. Superman, that's decent. I picked up some variant covers this week because of the Superman 80 years of Superman. So in celebration of that, because I do have a fairly extensive Superman collection, I have picked up a lot of the variant Superman covers. In effect, yeah. Well, I won't bore you with that, but Suicide Squad 36, this is something that's really picking up. I really like the fact here, what happens in this issue is, I like Killer well, it's Killer Croc, and then he's in love with June. She gets destroyed. There's more violence in this issue. This actually feels like an actual Suicide Squad issue. And wow, and Amanda Waller's daughter's in play here. The characterization here is really picking up. The violence in this is, when I think of how many good Suicide Squad is another one of those issue comics, I think, that is really going under the radar that a lot of people are missing, and it's really starting to pick up. Just like Titans is a little bit. Hopefully that'll continue picking up too. Yeah, you need to read Action Comics 1000. It sucks that you're broke. Well, yeah. Incidentally, I got, like I said, I showed you the hardcover, the hardcover of the Action Comics. I showed that early on. I don't know if people may have missed it. Action Comics 1000. Yeah, it's kind of expensive. What is it? Is it $5.99? It's kind of pricey. I just picked one cover. I know there's some people out there that are buying multiple covers of Action Comics 1000. Maybe I don't know. I gotta love Superman, and I got a lot of Superman. But I gotta tell you, there's no way I would want to. I got no interest in owning every single Action Comics 1000 cover. Um, I gotta say that if you the my favorite cover, I had to pick one, and the cover that I picked that I wanted was, I wish there was a if there was a Kurt Swan like cover. Kurt Swan's my favorite Superman artist of all time. That's the one I'd pick. But I actually ended up picking the Steve Rude cover from the 1930s. I thought it was the best because I wanted something that harkened back to the classic Superman. And I showed this at the beginning. I'm going to show these again because some of you are late to the stream. I got there's something about these Superman. These are the metal plates. I like these. I got these in my, these are kind of in my man cave or hung up. I just thought I'd show them to people. I just, there's one other thing I wanted to show. I bought years ago in 1996, when is the year that Kurt Swan died. And that was tragic. I've had this for quite a while. It's Kurt Swan's life, and the way he drew Superman to me will always be the way I think of Superman for as long as I live, because it's yeah, they cried when Kurt Swan died for a reason. Yeah, it's just absolutely gorgeous art. I mean, to me, these are the classic Superman stories that some of the best stories I've ever read were the ones with that were drawn by Kurt Swan. And that's what I love about his. I got a lot of Superboy as well. You mean, how can you not love? Oh, and Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Some of my earliest issues that I ever bought were Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. I absolutely love it. Great art, and a lot of the classic Legionnaire stuff. It's all drawn by Kurt Swan. A lot of World's Finest as well. A lot of great stuff here. A lot of great stuff. I mean, look at that. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of great art. Also, guys, incidentally, in Action Comics 1000, it's going to be Jose Garcia Lopez is going to be the one who draws I believe it's an 8-page story written by Brian Bendis. And again, another one of my favorite artists, because I got the Masters Volume 5, Jose Garcia Lopez, and he came out of retirement to draw Brian Bendis' story. And wow, he's a great artist. I was going to try to show here some Superman images that Garcia Lopez has drawn before to give you a taste of what we might be in store next week when Action Comics 1000 comes out. And naturally, Murphy's Law being what it is, I might not be able to find it, but I'm trying to find something here. I thought I had come across it beforehand. Incidentally, my favorite Garcia Lopez art, I remember he drew Atari Force. There was a series called Atari Force back in the 80s. Still one of my favorite series, back when people still, played Atari. But Atari Force, that was a beautifully drawn series. There's a nice Wonder Woman illustration by Garcia Lopez. Yes, you're right, Ruba Murad. Jim Lee is going to be drawing for Brian Bendis, but Jose Garcia Lopez is drawing one eight-page story, is what Bendis said. So that's what I was told. So I'm a little bit so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. Maybe they're both going to be in there. It's a pretty thick issue. In any event, there's one with Superman and Lois Lane. That's drawn by Garcia Lopez. So that's the type of art that we can expect Lopez to draw. He's an amazing artist. Amazing. But yeah, wow. Well, guys, I've pretty much exhausted. Oh, there was just, I'll give a shout out to two other series that I think have just a shout out to two other series. I wanted to keep this at an hour. I'm at 51 minutes, so I'm still under my 1 hour limit. I didn't want to go on forever. Um, Immortal Man is my favorite so far of the New Age of Heroes line. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this. I actually thought it was pretty good. The characters that are on the front here are brand new characters. This is Reload. He's called Reload because, yes, it's cliche a little bit. He shoots a gun and he's always reloading. So we got Reload. We got Timber here. Her name is Timber or Tinder, and that is Ghost Fist. That's Ghost Fist. And this person here is, I'm drawing a blank. I knew it before I started this podcast or this video, but I can't remember. But in any event, yeah, this is tied into the complicated history of metal. It actually has the Batman Who Laughs is in here. Ghost Fist does look badass, and Ghost Fist is actually the most interesting, I believe. I'm gonna just show the. There's that. The cover here is always. I don't know if these covers actually link up with the other ones, but it's always cool that that DC does that. So you open up the covers and then it folds down and then it goes up. And this is actually Damage. That's actually the character Damage. That so this is, you know, for $3.90, or this comic book is only $2.99. So $2.99, you get a cover like that. DC really wants you to invest in this, and it flows out of metal. It's easy to catch on to, by the way. It's not complicated. Basically, these are just immortal men, immortal people who have existed, but in the shadows for a long time, basically protecting humanity from nefarious forces. But it's kind of cool. There's Infinite Woman, and by the way, women can get the last laugh. I say this tongue in cheek. I'm not trying to take a shot at Comicsgate, but Infinite Woman is in here. Her name is Infinite Woman, and she's Infinite Woman. She's the oldest living human, founder of Conquest, the first house of the Immortals. And she has been waiting for this day for a very long time, so she can basically kill the last remaining immortal, or one of the Immortals, who is a character by the name of Caden, who is looks like a Japanese American who has he's been having dreams about fighting and being a hero, and basically, so these two immortal forces are looking for this one particular person. So it just plays like the beginning of sort of a cool sci-fi epic, almost like a modern day take on Highlander, I think, without the swords. But with people with superheroes. So I like this. I'm going to be keeping to check this out. I like this. This is the best so far. And I actually am wondering if I might see if these covers actually link up, because all the first issues of this series, I'm wondering if all these pages actually link up. I don't know. Black Magic, Greg Rucka. I've been hard on Greg Rucka. Full disclosure, Greg Rucka, for whatever reason, he block bots people on Twitter, and he basically I think I got blocked by him, and I think he just does the block botting, and I don't know why. I've never badmouthed Greg Rucka before. I've got nothing. I love his writing. I'm not a huge fan of his Wonder Woman. I've been hard on his Wonder Woman, but I sing his praises when it comes to Black Magic in particular. This is a really great series. Nicola Scott and Greg Rucka, they do such a bang-up job. The art here is amazing. And if, you know, the use of color is really interesting with Black Magic, because the use of color, every time there's color, you know that magic's going on. And that's what's interesting about this tale. It's black and white. It's gorgeously rendered. But whenever there is, sorry, that's a little risque. there is nudity in it, so I don't want to get this thing banned over on Twitter. But the art here is really good. It's mostly black and white. It's usually penciled, and whenever there's color, you can tell that there's magic going on, and it's very well written. It has to do with the Coven of Witches. and the lead character, whose last name is Black, is yeah, she's sort of a part of this coven of witches. And well, I don't want to. I skim read this. I have to read it in greater detail later today, but check out Black Magic, and it's only on issue 11, so it's easy to check out. It's easy to catch on to. One final note here: two series that are ending. Supergirl, written by Joe Orlando, and Trinity. The last issues came out. Trinity, it's kind of a mercy kill on Trinity. James Robinson has not been hitting it out of the park. He's not doing a great job on Wonder Woman, and he didn't, unfortunately, do a great job on Trinity. So that's forgettable. Supergirl kind of ended on a high note. Supergirl, this is the issue where I also did the I did show you the variant cover on this by Art German's really good. Even this cover is pretty good. This standard cover by I'm assuming Hoser, or I'm not sure who it is. In any event, another one of my pet peeves. I'm old school. Which, by the way, I ordered a shirt that says old school. I'm going to wear it more because I'm old school. I wish they'd have the stuff at the, you know, I hate when you got to go page through the comic book to find out the cover page and find out what the title is. It drives me crazy. So here I am looking. I'm trying to find this tendency for there's so much advertising now. Why does this say on the last page? If this is the title to this issue, why is it on the last page? Like, put it on the first page. Like, why are you trying to be different? Everybody tries to reinvent the wheel. Why? There's a reason why the wheel's hasn't been reinvented. It works fine the way it is. But whatever. It is what it is. And on that note, guys, thanks. I'm coming up on the hour here. Trinity's not okay, not bad, not always good. DC does that a lot, putting all the info at the end. Yes, they do, and I find it irritating to be quite blunt about it. But occasionally having the title at the end of a story can be strategic and be really good. Sometimes if the title gives away the content, it would make sense to have it at the end, and then you flip the page and then it ends on a particular meaningful moment, and then you see the title. But beyond that, anyways, guys, thanks for listening to me sort of rant a little bit. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend, and pick up Action Comics 1000 when it comes out. And thanks, Sugar Cat, Nightwolf, Professor Bill. Thanks all the guys that you show up. I appreciate it. Thank you. And Comic Boom out.